Happy New Year. I'm making a little towel bar for my dollhouse, and I didn't put the template portion in because it's just so simple. You can just see what I did, and I just used a marker around it. And I will paint these. This is balsa wood, and everything I'm making today is out of balsa wood, so it's very simple, easy to cut. And I do need to put a new blade on my X-Acto knife, but it's still cutting okay, so I won't do that where you can see it. But I do put one on eventually. And this is for my 1930s style bathroom. Now, most of the things for this bathroom I did not make. They're actually Strombecker doll furniture from the mid-1930s in jadeite green. And I bought these last summer, and you'll see them later. There was a toilet, a sink, and a bathtub. And I'm making a dollhouse. I'm not putting these in the Keystone dollhouse. I am actually building a dollhouse, and it's actually almost half finished at this point. But I have so little space for it that I haven't really been able to film how I actually did it. The next one that I build, I will film. And also when I repair the Keystone dollhouse that I bought last year, actually last summer, I will record that. But that's in the future because I'm waiting for parts. I'm trying to find parts for the windows, and there's some wooden pieces that are missing. And I really want to get the original pieces if I'm able to. So that's why I'm not filming that yet. I did nick a little piece of wood off of this, but I'm actually just going to glue it in with some super glue, and then I'll sand it. It'll be just fine instead of cutting another one. And just going around poking it, and then I'll make a little incision that's more steady as I go through, and then I'll sand these little pieces and then paint them. This is so simple, but I just thought I'd show you how I'm doing it. The towel bar will just be a skewer, and I'll just sand it as well so it's smooth, and then I'll make a little towel at a later point out of an old piece of terry cloth. I have a washcloth that has really small terry cloth nubs on it that will probably work, so I'll just sew that later on. There's both sides. And I'm just going to use some 600 grit sandpaper to sand it down carefully. And when you're working so small like this, it's easy to go a little too far with the sandpaper. So you do have to be careful. At least I have to be careful. And not get too aggressive with it. When I first started making this balsa wood furniture, I don't think I was aggressive enough with the sandpaper, but then I got a little more aggressive with it and went a little too far, so now I'm sort of finding an in-between place for how to sand this stuff. But it's a learning process, and I am learning. The original set from Strombecker had a vanity that went in the bathroom, but my little bathroom is not big enough to accommodate the vanity, so I'm just going to have a little wall-mounted shelf next to the sink, and that should do it. And I'm not sure the toilet paper roll is actually even going to fit, but I'm going to make it anyway, because even if it doesn't fit someday, maybe down the road, I'll make a bigger dollhouse and take that furniture out and put it in that one. I don't know. So I'm making it anyway, but You'll see that. And I'm going to make the toilet paper at some point where I'm just going to take some real toilet paper and re-roll it onto a pin, glue it, cut it in half, and then put it on the roll and glue it in place. It's kind of hard to explain, but I'm going to make it so I can just take it on and off if I want to, without the viewer seeing that it's been cut in half. So that's for another time. Now I'm going to cut a hole with a pair of hole punchers, a small hole punch, just to start the hole. And then I can just stick the skewer in. You know, you can buy these hole punches of various sizes, and this is a pretty small one. So that's all I'm doing, is sticking it in there and just pushing it, not all the way through on one side, but I will do it all the way through on another side. So and then I'll just glue the skewer into it and level it out. There's the skewer. I bought these a long time ago, actually, for cooking, and I just grabbed a bunch of them from my kitchen drawer. So they were just the right size. And I'll just estimate, it's about 1.5 inches long that I want. Maybe a little longer, it's not quite 2 inches. And I'll just stick them right in there, push them in, and then glue it. And I'm just using Loctite super glue gel, super gel, or whatever it's called, ultra gel, I believe it's called. And there we go. Whoops, not quite, but it'll get in there. Okay, that's it. Now I'll put it aside and paint it later. And I'll just put that right on the wall with a towel. It didn't glue in there quite right. To push it a little harder. There. It'll be pretty sturdy. And now I'm going to make the little not table, but shelf. And it's a little bigger than a half circle. I'm just going to draw a line through it just to make sure. Oh, I did do it. It is half. Yeah. It's half, and I'm going to go past it and then draw a straight line just past it, and then I'll cut it straight on the back. That line doesn't look straight, but I do straighten it out. I don't know what I did. I went to the wrong line. Measured twice, cut once. So, there we go. And I'll just cut this around and I'll sand this, and then I'll make a couple of shelf braces for it and sand those. And I'm going to paint these the same jadeite green that the sink, the tub, and the toilet are painted with. Well, it'll be similar. because I bought these pieces were originally jadeite green, which was very popular in the 1930s and 40s and up into the 50s, actually. You didn't see much of it in the 1960s or past that. They made a lot of pink and light blue, jadeite green, white, and even yellow porcelain fixtures for the bathroom, like tubs and sinks and toilets. Just cut it in half with a little line to make sure I don't break the wood around the table or the shelf top. And just trim it up. I do like working with balsa wood, but it is quite soft and it can be damaged very easily. And now I'm going to make the supports. Just using that last piece of scrap wood that I have. And this is just a button that I was going to use for the base of a lamp and still will at some point, but I'm just going to use that to make a curved shelf base. I was thinking I would make a template real quick, but decided not to. This is just unnecessary, so I'll just draw out two, eyeball it, and I think it'll work just fine. I'll just cut those around and sand those. I don't try to carve a straight line with these curves. It's just too easy to get cut, so I do it a little bit at a time. And then when I think that I'm almost through, then I can do more of a continuous cut after that. Just double checking to make sure it's the same size. And it looks like it's pretty close, so. And that's going to go on the edges for the support. Initially, I'll just use museum paste wax to put the dollhouse together. And maybe later on, if I think that the dollhouse is good enough when it's done, I may just glue the pieces right in. So I'm just going to go around and sand this curve. take off the sharp edges. At the end of this video, you'll see a little portion of the dollhouse that I'm making. It will have 6 rooms, a staircase, and it's going to open from the front like most of the European dollhouses do, and have an attic area that also opens up separately. So it's quite a large dollhouse, and I've been working on it for some time now. All of the furniture that I've been making is going to go into that dollhouse. I did make a display room that I can change the walls on, and you've seen the kitchen, the little boy's room, and the master bedroom displayed in that forced perspective box that I made. But soon you'll see them set up in the dollhouse. I have about half of the wallpaper done and the flooring, but what I need to do is trim it out with crown molding and baseboard, and that's going to take some time. And I'm just going to glue these on with super glue. I just want to get them both in the same position, and the back needs to be flush with the braces. You could use a shelf like this on the side of each of a bed for a lamp stand, or a phone stand in a hallway. So there's a number of things you could use a little piece like this that's so easy to make in a dollhouse. Now I'm going to do the toilet paper roll, and I have a much thinner piece of balsa wood here. This is, I think, 1/16 inch. The other was 1/8. So this is quite a bit thinner, and I'm just going to draw this out by hand the way I think it should look. I think a lot of people have a toilet paper roll that looks like this. They're made out of wood, and it's just 2 sides and a little bar in between. So that's how I'm going to make mine. And I'm just making it so that a little roll of toilet paper will be able to fit into it. And this is so easy to cut, this balsa wood, because it's so thin. But the other would be just a little too thick, the 1/8 for this, so I don't want to make it too bulky because I'm not sure it's going to fit anyway at this point. And if it doesn't, like I said, it's okay. I'll use it somewhere else later on, or I'll just try to fit it in somehow. Okay, and I'll have to sand these too, just a little bit. I'm actually using 1500 grit sandpaper for these. I don't want to tear too much of that wood surface off, so I'm going with a very fine sandpaper for this portion. These will be painted in jadeite as well. And I'm going to use that same hole punch, but instead of using a skewer for the toilet paper roll, I'm actually going to use a square balsa wood dowel that's much finer. And you won't see it because when I do put the roll of toilet paper on it eventually, it'll just, you won't see the dowel at all. And I'm just going to punch that hole right through the balsa wood carefully. I don't want it to split the wood, which is one of the problems with balsa wood when you're using it like this for really small stuff. There, I punched the holes. Okay, this is square dowel. I've used these dowels for making windows, and this was an extra piece I had, so I'm just going to cut it off and glue that together. Make sure it's in there straight. And just make sure that I put enough glue in it to hold. And then I'll straighten it out and let it dry, and then I will paint it. And this part's a little tricky because it has to be straight. There. So those are 3 pieces for my bathroom. And then I'm going to mix up some paint while these are drying. Okay. I'll get all the pieces, they're dry. And I'm going to just stick some pins in here so I can paint them and don't get too much paint on my hands. So I usually use 2 pins at a time so I can hold it. Okay, that was just a little break. And now I'm going to mix up the paint. And I'm going to use a couple of different types of paint. I'm going to use Folk Art and Apple Barrel. And I'll use 3 colors of green, 2 colors of green and a little bit of blue to bring out that more jadeite look. So these are 2 different shades of green. And now I'm going to use a blue color, a light blue. Just a little bit. Mix that in. And this is enough to paint everything. I lost a pin, so I have to put another one in. These are just quilting pins. And I'll just give it a coat of paint. I probably don't have to give it more than 1 coat. This paint turned out pretty thick, the 2 different types that I used. It seems like the Folk Art brand of the paint is a little thicker than the Apple Barrel. There. That's painted. Just make sure there's not too much gloppy paint around. And I'm going to do the towel bar now. Just put my little pins in so I can hold it away from my hand a little. I always manage to get paint on myself anyway, so. But this does help me not to literally cover my fingers with paint. The nice thing about these plastic paint trays is if you let the acrylic paint dry on it, you can actually just peel it off afterwards. So cleaning it isn't really much of a problem if you don't get to it right away. And this one was filled with paint and I just peeled it all off. So it's like a new paint tray. I bought that at the dollar store. Of course, it's not a dollar store anymore, it's a $1.50 store now. And now I'm going to do my little shelf. And I'll be making more accessories for the bathroom. I'd like to get a couple little bars of soap, a couple towels, some shampoo, toothpaste, and a jar with a toothbrush, as a toothbrush holder and toothbrushes, but that's for a later time. I did do the rug already, and I printed that out on velour paper. I didn't want to make this furniture too ornate, obviously, because the Strombecker and the cage style furniture that I have and the stuff I've already made is quite simple. It's more folk art like, and almost all of it is made out of wood, much heavier wood, and most of it's a little bit chunkier than what you see here. But I want to keep in that same style and the same feel of that simpler furniture and remain consistent with that so it all blends in. There. I'm going to just do a little touching up here, make sure everything's covered. And I'll let that dry. And that's already dry. It dries pretty fast. That looks pretty good. And there's my little toilet paper holder, roll holder, and there's the little shelf. Here's the bathroom inside my dollhouse. The outside hasn't been trimmed yet. It has a tile floor, wallpaper, tile surround around the tub. And let's see. There's just maybe barely room for it there. I'm not sure if that's gonna work. Maybe on this side, we'll see. You won't see it though if I put it over there, but I might have to go there. And it's the same color. I was able to pretty much get the same color. There's the tub. The tub needs a faucet, and it's going to be attached to the wall. And I have that pushed up against there. It's just a surround. And there's the door. There's no door handle. There's no trim around the door. And I will trim this whole thing out. This is an upstairs bathroom. This is the upstairs. And there's the sink and the little towel bar. the rug that's made out of velvet paper or velour paper. And I put a little mirror in with a surround, tile surround. It's just a little bottle. I was thinking maybe I would put it in there somehow, like, I don't know, perfume, but I'll probably take it out of there. There's the towel bar it'll go there and have some towels on it. And to push the rug away. Okay. And now for the little shelf. And that will go, I think, even with the sink. Could put a little higher, actually. Might look better higher. Kind of hard to see. Well, thank you for watching. Happy New Year again. And I hope you will like and subscribe and leave a comment. Bye-bye.